Are you seeking a better way to accelerate your sales, to scale your business, to live a life with no limits? Accelerate Sales Podcast features global experts who have cracked the code to recurring revenues with proven sales systems and get you on the fast track to scaling. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Hi, I'm Paul Higgins, and hello to the Accelerate Sales Solo Podcast, episode number 409. Today's topic is a simple sales strategy framework that most importantly gets you results. You're going to learn three key things. One is why have one? The second is what is in it? And I give you specific questions in detail. And the third is how to get it. If it's your first time, welcome. And if you love what you hear, please subscribe. If you're a regular, I love those reviews. The support means so much to me. And always email me. Reach out to me. The people that do, I always reply. Please check out past shows on your favorite platform. Just search Accelerate Sales. And don't forget those interview shows. And before I start, I'd like to talk to you about our free Slack community for cloud consultants. It's a great place where cloud consultants just help each other to scale our businesses, like-minded peers doing the right thing by each other. So just go to cloudconsultantscollective.com to join for free. So why have one? Why have a sales strategy? At Coke, we never stopped presenting sales strategies. It was like death by PowerPoint. Just as soon as you'd finish one, you'd have to do another. And it really turned me off having them in my own business. I swore I'd never have one. And I had a simple one-page sort of Google sheet, which I updated each quarter. I presented to my team. But, you know, there's only 6 of us. It's not very big, so I thought, that's fine. But then 3 months ago, I created a new program called Fast Track. And it's 4 sessions compacting my 4 years of experience of what I learned on LinkedIn outreach. And, you know, we sort of dove straight into the tactics and we sent connection requests and got replies and it was going really well. But then I sort of thought about it and like, hang on, like we're just touching one opportunity to get revenue, right? Yes, it's called Fast Track. It's mainly LinkedIn, but it should be broader than that. And really, you know, to go to your second and third degrees is probably the hardest one. So how do we sort of, you know, make it easier and get lower wins? And then what I also found is that the end game was lost, right? Like, why are we doing this? You know, what's the revenue targets, etc. And, you know, it made me think about, well, okay, I won't go to the crazy lengths that we used to at Coke, but what I'll do is dust off, you know, my old sales documents and some of the stuff that I've been working on, put together a framework. And that's what I want to take you through today. And what about you? You know, do you spend time in tactic land, as I call it, and need to see the wood from the trees in your sales strategy? And if that is you, this is definitely going to help. And before I go into what's in the plan, I'd like to talk about SendSpark.com. You can send personalized videos at scale. It's got a great little GIF that you can create in the email. It's got wonderful analytics. It's a really cool platform. And the great thing is that it's free for you. That's right. It's free for you for 6 months if you go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/SendSpark right now. So I'll have a link in the show notes to the framework, right? So I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of activity if you can. And if not, you can go back to the show notes and you can see the framework. But let me explain each section that's in the sales strategy document, and importantly, how it can help you quickly get results. So the elements that I'm going to cover is revenue hierarchy, the 5 ones, existing clients, SaaS partner / vendor, LinkedIn outreach, and strategic partners. So if you think about the first 3, a bit of a setup, and then existing clients through to strategic partners are actually the strategies. And as I said, you can, you know, write it down, but you will be able to get the link in the show notes as well. So the first one we'll cover is revenue hierarchy. And if you're in the right environment at the moment that you actually can pull out a bit of paper, I recommend you do that. And it's, you know, best to learn by actually doing. So I want you to just draw a simple org chart, right? So just have the leader at the top and then have 4 direct reports under that. So you're going to end up with 5 boxes. And look, it's best to do that in landscape, right? So just pause it. I'm not going to pause and wait for you. You pause it and then come back. All right. So in the leaders box, which is the top box up the top, you put in your monthly recurring revenue target for the next 6 months, right? So it's what you'd like to achieve. So it needs to be a stretch, but still realistic. So now what we're going to look at is how you get there, right? So under the team box 1, so just think if you've got the leader that we've put in a figure of your monthly MMR, might be, say, 100K. And then under that, you've got 4 boxes running left to right. Okay, don't worry if the lines are perfect. And under each box, we're going to put a label, right? So under the first box, which is on your far left of the sheet, unless you're in Japan, apologies for that, or in China maybe. But if you're in English speaking, it's on the far left, and you're going to label that existing clients. Right, and then we're going to work from left to right. So the next box, you're going to put SaaS partner vendor. Now, it's not in the box, it's actually under the box. So I apologize if you've got a pen, just scratch that out. But you're putting these labels under the box, not the number. We're going to put a number in the box. Right, the third one from the left is LinkedIn Outreach, and the fourth is strategic partners. So I'll just summarize. You've got a box up the top, which is empty at the moment, and then you've got 4 boxes under that in an org chart, and the one on the far left, you've got existing clients. The next one, you've got SaaS partner vendor, and that's under the box, right? It's a label, it's not within the box. The third, you've got LinkedIn Outreach, and the fourth is strategic partners. Now, I'd love you to take a photo and send it to me at paul@paulhigginsmentoring.com just to see how good my instructions work. Now, like I said, you should have the org chart with a leader and 4 team members reporting to them, then the labels under each box. So what is missing is the numbers in each box that adds up to the leader's box. So as an example, I just had a client where we had 120,000 monthly recurring revenue, MRR, in the leader box, and then under that, we had 30K split between the 4 boxes, right? So that is how you end up with the 120. Now, the strategies you pick, i.e., the little tags that you put under each of the boxes may be different, but what I've used is what's really working for cloud consultants at the moment, right? So if you're a cloud consultant, you're listening to this, great. If you're not and you're in B2B sales, just come up with your labels that you know are going to work. Okay, so we've done that. The next is the 5 ones, and I got this from Taki Moore, and it's just a simple little exercise but powerful. So the first one is one target market. So for this particular client I was working with, he was B2B businesses, SMEs in America, and they were between 5 and 200 staff, turning over between 1 to 20 mil, right? And they were in manufacturing and FMCG or consumer goods, however you want to do that, right? But what we want to do is just pick one target market, not a whole heap. The next is one product or service. So he had a blueprint that we've developed that we have. So, as a cloud consultant, you go in and you effectively say, look, this is what we could do, and then they could either implement themselves or hopefully get you to implement. So it was a blueprint, it was a product or service that we were leading with. The next was one conversion tool. And that was a 15-minute qualification call. So I used to do a lot of work on the first call, which really wasn't needed, because first you want to find out what their objectives are, where they are now, what they've tried, how they're going to get there. And you're not talking about the detail of anything, right? So that's the conversion tool. And then one traffic source. So out of all of those, he's picked LinkedIn Outreach as his main one. And then over 1 year. Right, so you get the drift. So you've got one target market, one product service, one conversion tool, one traffic source, and 1 year. Okay, so now we're going to go into the boxes, right? So what you might want to do, if you're taking notes, you can just bullet point them under there. If not, we've got them in the show notes. So existing clients. So you've heard it a million times that it's best to get from existing clients first. Okay, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but it's how. So I just want to talk to you how we're doing it. So one is we create an offers table. So we go from free through to the highest value, and then we have a whole lot of information which puts, what is it? So what's the strategy? What's the pain points it's solving? What's the value proposition? All of those things, right? So get all of the offers in one table, a Google Sheet, that's all we use. So get them all down there. And then what you want to do is create a table where you list all your clients down the left, right, the vertical axis, and the horizontal across the top, you have all of your offers. So you're not going to put the detail of offers, but just what the name is called, right? And then what you're doing is just filling in the boxes, right? So you might say, okay, well, that's right. This client could really do with this offer. It's new. I forgot that we've never pitched it to them before, and then you go and create a deal in your sales CRM, and you start closing the gaps, right? And also you create routines, so you're constantly looking at this. But it's a simple thing. We used to do it in Coke all the time. We just say, okay, here's all our customers, here's our best-selling products, which ones have they got, which ones they haven't. And that normally gave a rep 20% uplift. And it's just because you're not thinking of it, you're not always doing it. So that's a cool little exercise for existing clients. So next is SaaS or vendor partner. So for example, you might be a Salesforce partner, a HubSpot partner, a Zoho partner, whatever you are, right? So we want to build the relationship better with them. So the first one is become involved in the deal sooner. So what do I mean by that? So often, you've got a whole heap of notes that come from the account executive that's done an initial call with the company, and they might have done a couple of calls, and then you get all these notes and you've got to prioritize them and work it out, and it takes you a huge amount of time, and you don't even know if they're going to be the right client for you, right? So how do you get into those calls earlier? So that's the first thing, right? So go upstream. The next is how do you reduce the amount of competitive pitching? So we, in our Cloud Consultants Collective, we talked the other day about, one partner in particular, they would always have, one vendor would put 3 partners against each other. It was crazy. They're all doing the same amount of work, etc. So others make sure that, there's only one partner assigned. So what you want to do is just see where you're at there so that you're not wasting time in this competitive pitch. Next is create an individual brief to reduce time spent in the prep. So let's say in this example, what we did, there's a whole lot of notes because we couldn't get involved sooner. That's a longer term or mid-term strategy. But we used to get these notes. So what he did is create a format for the information he really needed, and then one of his team members did that. So it reduced the time he took to prep for meetings. Update the complex sales document. Now, I won't go into detail here, but it's a brilliant way. It was originally taught to me by Miller Hyman when I was at Coca-Cola. It's called the Blue Sheet, and or strategic selling, and in episode 326 you can find more about that. But it's a really great way to uncover all the buys, their wins, results, etc. Next is build relationship with your key stakeholders, right? So add value to them. Do whatever you can to be the partner that they recognize as, the one who's oiling the squeaky wheel. And the last thing is create some routines, right? So create routines in particular with the account executives, so you're getting more of their time. So we've gone through so far existing clients, SaaS or your vendor, whatever you do. Now rub that out. If you're just doing B2B services, do something else. But if you're a cloud consultant, you should be familiar with that. The third is LinkedIn outreach, right? And what I always love to do is go from easy to hard, like familiar to less familiar. So, a lot of times people start by just, spamming people, basically. We don't want to do that, right? So what we want to first do is start with your first connections, right? Because once again, it's like your clients that you've got this offer table and you've just forgot about products that you haven't offered to them. It's the same about your first connections, right? What you'd normally, if you worked with me on LinkedIn, I would make sure that your ideal client was reassessed, and we really niched it down, made it very specific, and then you would go and find those first connections, right? So you're not like, for me, I got 17,000 connections, but if I filter by cloud consultants, it comes down to a lot less, right? Then this trick, not many people do, but we found it to work brilliantly, right? And remember, this is under the LinkedIn outreach, is go to your clients, past or current, and look at their first connections and see if there's a mutual or follow. Someone's either mutual connection or follow. You can, on the top of their profile on the left-hand side, you can see that. So sometimes I'll go into someone who might have 113 mutual connections, right? So what I'll do is pick the people that I know really well. So for example, people that have been on my podcast, and then I'll say, I'll do a little bit of I'll pre-engage with them, which I'll do, some liking and commenting on their post first. I'll send them the connection request and I'll say, hey, these people can vouch for me, right? Bit of tongue in cheek, bit of a wink. And that is working really well. And like I said, for second and third connections, right, which is normally harder. So you've gone through getting your scripts right, you're getting your process right. Now you go to second and third, and that's where you pre-engage And like I said, you start by liking first and then you just build it up. So hopefully they'll send you a connection request. But if not, what you do is send them a connection request saying that, we've been engaging. We've got all the scripts. I won't go through the detail now. If you want them, just reach out to me. And then we also do pattern interrupters. So you might take a photo of their logo on their website and say, fantastic logo, did you design it yourself? There's all these ways that we do pattern interrupters, so you're not going in and spamming, because just think about LinkedIn outreach. It's a bit like, what you'd say in person to someone, you should say on LinkedIn, right? I think that's the golden rule. So you can find out a lot more at paulhigginsmentoring.com/fast track for help with LinkedIn outreach. But ultimately what that program gives you is your ideal client profile nailed, your LinkedIn profile looking beautiful, sales strategy document, which it's this filled out, your customer scripts, your sales navigator set up, and when I say I should have said custom script, your cutting edge technology, and most importantly, someone to train your team, because you and I do the strategy and then your team does implementation, right? Okay, so what have we covered? We've covered so far existing clients, SaaS partner, SaaS vendor, LinkedIn outreach. Now the last one is strategic partners, right? So yes, some people say, well, why isn't your SaaS or vendor a strategic partner? They are, but they're just bigger than others, right? So what we want to get to is the one-to-many sales. Now they're harder to get, but the great thing is they're easier to maintain, right? So what we want to do first is look for software. So what are the clients using that is complementary to you, right? So a great example the other day, someone was using a payroll in legal. So we got in contact with them and there's mutual benefits. The next is the vendors. What are the top 3 vendors by dollar spend, right? So you can go and work on those because they could be a great way to be a strategic partner to your ideal client. And the third is experts. Look up the top 3 experts and occupy the most time, and they can be great, right? Might be an accountant, might be whatever. Okay, so I know this one's gone a bit longer than normal, but I wanted to give you really good value. So what we did was we covered revenue hierarchy, the 5 ones, existing clients, SaaS partner/vendor, LinkedIn outreach, and strategic partners, I should say. So 3 actions from today. 1 is get the framework in the show notes, right? It's a Google Doc. You'll see it all there. 2 is create your revenue hierarchy, right? So it's that little chart, and don't forget to send it to me, right? What did you actually come up with? And you can send that at paul@paulhigginsmentoring.com, and you can ask me any questions there as well. Okay, so you can get all the links, like I said, at the show notes. It's paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast, episode 409, or on the app you're listening to. My content, so I put some great content out on LinkedIn. Go check that out if you're not listening to the solo shows, the interview shows. And if someone's interested in scaling their business quicker, they can go to cloudconsultantscollective.com. And also, if you think this would be great for a peer, just share it with them. They'll think you're an absolute rock star. The last, and what I always say, is please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.